So we're going to go ahead and get started here since it's a little bit past 9 o'clock. So if you're here, welcome. You're in the right classroom. Do not go down the hallway. It's great to have you here. This is 1 Million Cups. My name is Leif, which is something I never actually say when I host. I keep forgetting because I think it says 1MC host. Yeah. So my name is not 1MC host. It is Leif, which rhymes with safe. Some people have said it also rhymes with the word chafe. So you can pick your favorite. I think safe is better. It's a better word. You're 1 Million Cups today. So this is a free weekly meeting hosted by the community, and it's usually based around coffee. So if you get your coffee, enjoy. There's free coffee when we're in person. We're excited to get back to eventually. And if you are on the social media and you've made it through that Netflix documentary, you still have your social media accounts, make sure to like us on Facebook and follow us there for the link and any other changes, or Instagram. It's another good one. And we're also on Meetup too, which is how some people even found us. That's how I found 1 Million Cups. But the best way to hear it is through the email. That is on a bit.ly address right here. You can get signed up to get our emails, which have the URLs and reminders and all sorts of great stuff. And we'll be here every Wednesday at 9 a.m., except for Thanksgiving and Christmas, which we have something special going on. So stay tuned. We're here to offer help to people, share ideas, and we're here to ask help, build community, and support each other, and all while drinking coffee or Diet Coke. Some people like that in the morning, sucky. And what makes us really different from other groups out there? Well, 1 Million Cups is about presentations. So we're not like pitching to investors. This isn't a crowd of investors, it's a crowd of people from your community that are enthusiastic about entrepreneurship. We're here to connect with people, not just hand out business cards and walk away. And we're done for the community, by the community, meaning we're not sponsored by banks or any entities. We're just here because we want to be. The organizers are all volunteering their time to make this group happen every week. And we're here to be very inclusive too. So we're trying to bring people that don't think they're entrepreneurs or might not think they are, and kind of break down some myths and barriers to entry into this space and say like, hey, you could be that too. Unless you don't want to be, which is fine too. So make sure you keep that in mind if you're going to think about bringing someone. If they think, oh, they're not an entrepreneur, they're not a business person, don't let that hold you back from bringing someone here. So the 1 Million Cups Nation goes across the country, as we just spoke about briefly, that you can kind of like ride the time zone wave of 9 a.m. if you want to get a lot of energy in your Wednesday morning, all the way from the East Coast over to Alaska. 168 communities, hundreds of volunteers, and we're here to educate, do presentations, and connections. So those are kind of our three words we run around during 1 Million Cups. So education, presentation, connections. So we're going to do presentations today too, and hopefully some education and some connections as well. So we've had like 8,000 people share their stories on the 1 Million Cup stage over the years. And this is us sharing our stories here at the Collective down in South Lake Union, which is where we would be if it was in the before time, and where we probably will be after, when we can meet up again and have larger than 5 people gathering. So look forward to that. So I got a question for everyone. Do you have all the answers and feel like you know exactly what you're doing? If so, congratulations. I'd like to read your book, and you can leave the meeting if this will waste your time. Otherwise, we're here to help. So the point of the day is to learn, to teach, to present, connect. So yeah, strap in. We got a couple sponsors that make this thing happen every single week. Seattle Strong sponsors our coffee, which is not being used a lot right now, but they do a great job sponsoring our coffee, a local coffee company. And I know, can you believe this local coffee company in Seattle? It's crazy. A Small Studio runs our meetup page, and Human Up runs some of our organizational tools. So big thank you to them. Speaking of organizers, here are some of them, or I guess all of them right now. They're variously scattered around the Zoom room today. And so if you see one of them, you can thank them for all the cool stuff they do. And if you want to be on here, you can reach out to us, and we will talk to you a little bit about that a little bit later too. So what are you going to expect today? Coffee and conversation. Make sure you get your caffeine. It's a great place to get your caffeine in the morning. And conversation, we had a little bit of that earlier. Then we're going to do a 6-minute presentation, and that's going to be by our presenter I'll introduce in a second here, followed by a 20-minute Q&A, question and answer. We'll go over a little bit about how that works a bit too. And then we're going to connect through some breakout rooms And those are just like a couple minutes at the end to kind of get some thoughts out, clear your head, chat with people directly, and then you're energized, ready to go for the day and off into the world. So we'll get to that in a second. I'd like to introduce to our stage, our virtual stage, Crystal Webster, who has a really interesting company called Sharing Solace. She's got a book that's been written. She's got a website. She's got a business plan. She's making it happen right now. And I'm really excited to hear all about it. So please welcome Crystal to the virtual stage as I stop my share. Big claps. Oh, I think she's a little, you're muted, Crystal. Oh, am I muted?
Still can't hear you, Crystal.
Oh yeah, still can't hear you. Okay, I thought I was going crazy for a second.
You are. But
I am. Okay, so it's the same thing. They overlap.
Those two things can both exist at the same time. You know.
Okay, good. You try again, Crystal, and see. You're working great before. Okay, well, while she's working on that, so we're not all waiting for that. We're going to talk a little bit about what the breakout or the question and answer section goes. So think about this: when you are going through the presentation, even if you don't feel comfortable asking a question today, it might be your first time, might be you're just not really out talking in front of Zoom people. Try to write down what your question would be. I find that it's really helpful to even be in that mindset of like, what am I going to ask an entrepreneur about their company? Like, what is the question? Hey, what is the question you're going to ask somebody? So getting into that mindset really helps with the education piece. So get the paper ready. All right, Crystal, we're ready for you.
All right. Thank you for having me. Now okay. You can, the little box showed up over me. So I'm like, okay. Good morning. Hi. I've always thought that interesting is a nice way to say uninteresting. So when you say I have an interesting concept, I'm intrigued to know if you actually mean this girl sucks, but we're going to hear her out for 6 minutes because it's only 6 minutes.
That's of course what I meant.
Right. I totally get it. I feel the same way. So I'm going to share my screen just again, because I'd rather share my screen than have you look at my face for 6 minutes. Here we go. So I hope you can see that and you can hear me at the same time. That'd be awesome. I am Crystal Webster, founder and chief Solace officer of Sharing Solace. But before I get too much into what Sharing Solace actually does, I would love to share a little bit about me personally. So now I got to get this to go to the next. There we go. So this is my husband and I on our wedding day. It was a few years ago. I was a little bit younger. And yes, we ran off to Vegas and had a full Catholic ceremony on the Strip in Sin City. So I knew that we were up for an adventure. But like everyone does after the honeymoon, I had to go back to my boring corporate job behind a cubicle, pushing papers around. But surprise, surprise, that was kind of boring. So we found our next big adventure. We decided that we were going to, as my dad says, we pinched our pennies to spend our dollars. And we traveled the world, seeing some of the most awe-inspiring places, meeting some of the most beautiful humans inside and out. And I have to tell you that traveling just reaffirmed how much, I don't care the clothes on your back or the color of your skin or the language that you speak. Humans all have the same hopes and desires and fears and dreams. And I think that's what I learned from traveling more than anything. But then it was 2010 and it was time to come home for our biggest adventure yet. This is my beautiful daughter, Madeline Elizabeth Webster. She was born May 19th, 2010. And as you can tell, she is the most precious, beautiful baby girl you've ever seen in the history of the world. Yes, I'm a little bit biased in that fact. I'd like to show you a picture of her today. This is my Madeline Elizabeth today. You see, 8 hours after she was born, she died in my arms. Come to find out, she had a genetic condition that I, her own mother, gave her that made it impossible for her to sustain her own life. And so she died just 8 hours after she was born. Obviously, that sent me into a spiraling depression. I felt like I was the only person that had ever felt so much loss and so much pain. And honestly, I was living my life waiting to die. Several years after losing Madeline, and I do mean several years, I finally started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I realized that all the gifts that I'd been given at Madeline's funeral, the baby blankets and teddy bears and figurines, all those things that once brought comfort, now just brought back the pain of losing her. And so that's how Sharing Solace was born. Sharing Solace really solves 4 main problems. For the friends and family of grievers, we solve the what do you do and what do you say and how do you provide support when you don't have the words. And then for the grievers themselves, we help them feel less isolated and less lonely, and also what to do with those treasured keepsakes when they've just kind of become tchotchkes, because that's the nature of grief. So here's what we came up with. Here is our pendant necklace. We also have a matching keychain. This is intended to be given to you during that initial heavy grief. But wait, there's so much more. You keep your locket with you as long as it brings you comfort. When it no longer brings that comfort, it symbolizes that it's time to release that inner token and symbolically the heavy on your heart grief. You take the middle token out of the outer locket, put it into a new locket, and pay that new locket forward on to somebody else you know that needs love and support as they go along their own grief journey. You keep your outer locket as it looks here as a reminder you're still a whole person. You're just always going to have a little hole. Now, the secret sauce really lies in that middle token there. That middle token, you can actually register on our website. And by registering on our website, you are able to follow it as it moves from person to person, sharing as much about your story and your journey as you'd like, and connecting with others that understand what you're going through because you've been through it. They've been through it themselves. So, who are our customers? Exactly who you think they are. The friends and family of those that are grieving, and anyone that's disheartened by any sort of grief. I adamantly believe that grief is grief, and it cannot be compared to anyone else's grief. So what makes us so cool? Well, I think we're pretty cool just in general, but we do have a patent on the concept of how our physical tokens actually integrate into our website and the concept around it all. This is actually the first gift that I've ever been able to find that has a community of support and a community of comfort wrapped up in it. And then I really like the Fabergé shampoo commercial. Do you remember that, where Heather Locklear washed her hair and then told 2 friends and they told 2 friends and so on and so on? I have seen that firsthand, where particularly women have dragged their friends back to talk to Sharing Solace. And that is just so powerful to me. So what have we done in the last 18 months? Well, in addition to the token and locket system, we've expanded our product line to include other ways of providing support and comfort, notably our gratitude journal and our reflection card and journal that's wrapped up into one. But the thing that I'm most proud of is a book. I finished our book called Confessions of a Griever, turning a hot mess into an Haute Message, Laughable Lessons for When Life Just Sucks. And this book came out May 19th, 2020. It was my 10th birthday present to my Madeline. The neat thing about this book is that it is part my memoir, part self-help, things that have helped me through my journey, but it's also part choose your own adventure. And what I mean by that is grief is not a linear process. You can't go from page 1 to page 2 to page 3 to page 4 in grief. It is a loop-de-loop. In fact, this is my grief journey. There is no start and there is no finish. And so why read or write a book about a non-linear event in a linear fashion. So it's just like the old choose your own adventure books from when you were a kid, deciding if you were going to climb the tree or dig a hole kind of thing. So what do we have going on in the future? Well, I really want to continue to look for speaking and education opportunities on topics such as grief, child loss of any kind, positivity, gratitude. The world is boundless as far as, just general mindset things. I'm also always looking for amazing corporate and non-partner profit partners to be able to collaborate with, because grief, there's never enough love and support in the grief community. And then mostly because I know nothing about it, I'm exploring wholesale opportunities because it intrigues me more than anything. So that is sharing solace in a nutshell. Here is another beautiful picture of my daughter, Madeline Elizabeth, mostly because I just like to share pictures of her and say her name. And this is all of my contact information. I really am excited to hear questions and comments. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Crystal, for sharing your story and really genuinely interesting business. I've never seen anything like this. I'm excited to see what everyone's questions are going to be. So speaking of questions, let's get that rolling really quick. Please have your questions prepared, and we're going to jump over to this slide right here. And this is how you can actually raise your hand or say that you'd like to ask a question. You can also type it in the chat if you're not comfortable asking a question or can't, and I can read it aloud for you. So I'll stop talking and we'll jump into, I think Allison's on my screen first with the question. So you can go away.
Hi everybody, my name is Allison Prophet. I actually am here as a supporter to Crystal. I saw her present this presentation at the Fort Collins 1 Million Cups a number of months ago, I think at this point, Crystal. And I really want to say it's been a while since I've seen this presentation, and you've definitely enhanced it and improved upon it. I think just like the way that the storyline flows is a lot more clear on your journey and the vision and sort of the product and the service and kind of how that all plays in. So I wanted to say kudos to you. And one question I do have is really about like the sales aspect. So as you know, I'm a sales coach. So what are you doing? Are you looking to drive sales mostly just like through an e-commerce platform, or do you drive sales when you're doing speaking opportunities? Do you have like a sales team? What does some of that look like?
Yes, to all of those answers. We have an e-commerce platform through the website, sharingsolace.com. Oftentimes by sharing my story, one, it encourages others to share their story as well. And that's the true goal. But people get behind it and understand, either they get it or they don't, first of all. And if you get behind it, you understand just how powerful it can be. And so there tend to be sales at those other kind of events as well. And also I have Sharing Solace, not me. Sharing Solace has a lot of raving fans. People love it. And so we do a lot of word of mouth kind of transactions. And I hate to talk about Sharing Solace as a business, even though it is, because it sounds so cut and dry and clinical. But yes, there's a lot of, the Fabergé shampoo commercial effect. Hey, I heard about this cool thing. I've never seen anything like it. Check it out. So I think that hit on all three pieces of your question.
Wonderful. Yes, you guys are doing great at question answering of the one breath question theory, even though it was many more. We didn't even talk about this time, but thank you for that question, Allison, an answer. I think Sarah had her hand up next.
First of all, I wanted to say hello. I'm very sorry for your loss. I also think your description of grief is really very accurate in that it kind of goes in circles. I really recognized that. And I think your product is fantastic. I absolutely love it. You say you can get it. I absolutely get it. And I think what you're doing is amazing. So I just wanted to say all that. But then I do have a question. And my question is, What is your long-term goal for your company? Are you, do you have, are you looking to grow it and then exit and sell it? Or is it something you're looking to do over the long term? What's your ultimate goal with all of this?
The long-term goal is to become the Oprah of grief.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Yes, I do understand that there could be a market for a jewelry company to purchase and that was part of the reason of getting the patent.
Yeah, well, that's why I wondered actually, because I was like, oh, that's fantastic. You've got the IP there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily, the goal isn't in 5 years to exit.
Right.
This is a true passion for me. But I also understand at some point I will die and then, I can't be in charge of it anymore. So I would love to be able to grow it to a place where it is a full-fledged company. Right now, it's just kind of me and my contractors kind of working through this. And if I don't work, then it doesn't work.
Right.
So the goal is to make it fully self-sustaining and where I am not the only real mover and shaker in the world, in the company.
I've to that end, I've put a couple of suggestions. I know other people have as well for partners in chat. I've also suggested joining Female Founders Alliance because I think you could probably find an awful lot of partners there if you're not already involved in that.
Awesome. I'm trying not to read the comments because I'll get distracted by them, but I promise I will.
I know that distraction line. Thank you, Sarah, for your question.
Thank you.
I think Tess had her hand up next. We'll head on over to you.
Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Tessa.
Okay. I do like to, I know this is a one breath thing, but firstly, I do want to say that I do get it. I want to share that. I always interested in grieving solutions, I guess, because I've never grieved seriously. I've never had a serious loss in my family. And so for me, that it's always like, I can feel the pain, but I also feel a little bit out of, depth with being able to, I can't empathize. I usually can empathize on a, level with people, but grieving I can't. So I appreciate the existence of this. I think I have a handful of questions. So just answer what you can. I'm very interested in community. So I don't know if it said in your, and I just missed it, but you can join a online or shared community. So I want to know what platform that's on and how that's run. I also want to know how many people so far do send, is there a percentage of how many people do send the inside part of the locket on? And do some people keep it? And thirdly, who makes the, I'm interested in ethical and sustainable production. So where do the lockets come from?
I'll work backwards because I can remember the questions backwards. How about that? I work with a company out of Kentucky that actually helped me create and manufacture the actual product in Thailand. Because of the type of metal that's used, only 4 factories in the whole entire world will manufacture medical grade stainless steel in a jewelry design because it's so small. To be perfectly honest, it was when I started, it was who can do this? It looks like really no one can other than these 3 options. So I picked the best of my options. Going forward, I definitely want to dig into that process further. Is that enough for that? Okay. Question 2 was how many people have passed on the lockets? To be perfectly honest, very few. I've probably had a handful of people that have actually passed along their token. It's not necessarily the actual act of passing it along. It's more the theoretical concept of knowing that that's what is intended to be done. And also the company is in such an early stage that I've been working on this since 2015. We officially launched in 2018. So we're under 3 years old. To even think that 10% of the lockets have been passed on at 3 years is ridiculous in my mind. It took me more than 5 years to get to a point where I felt human again. So I don't necessarily take that as a marker of success. It's more people like the concept of than the physical act of doing it.
Totally.
And I have forgotten your first question, which is probably why I went backwards.
What was my first question? Anyone else remember? It was the community. So how is that run?
Yes. So right now it is a message board and a token tree. We call it the token tree. It looks more like a spider web on our website, where you can click around on our website and see every token, who's had it, who it is moved to, where it started, and if people choose to share parts of their story, they can read that from there. And that's public information if you choose it, if you set it like that. You're also allowed to connect with people, so you can read the more private things. But mostly it's done through message boards and those kind of things.
And so that just sits on your website?
Yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Built into sharingsolace.com.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great questions. I was really curious about the manufacturing and just some other logistics like that too. Ben, we got a question from you.
Yeah, I think Crystal knows I'm a big fan because I stalk her at almost every. Honestly,
We stalk each other.
Right, I've seen her when she first did it, and I agree that it's so much clearer what she's doing and how she's doing it. I have two things I want to say. One is about the presentation. I almost wish you would start with the almost like the how I'm doing this versus the why I'm doing this, because it's very jarring. It's a very jarring story, and it just breaks my heart every time I hear it. I almost want to be able to relate the other way. I'm a grief. I do this for the grief, and this is why I'm doing it. And I'm just wondering if that might be something to think about. The other thing is, I have some experience with selling wholesale. And if you want to chat about that offline, I sent you something in the other thing that I would love to have a Zoom chat, because I think you and I are trying to help people feel a little bit better. Yours is through grief, and mine is as they're going through chemotherapy and other infusion things. So I would love to chat with you, because we might have some, not the same stores that we want to sell to, but a similar approach.
Yeah.
Think about that. And I put my information in the last thing, but I'll put it again here. Anyway, great job.
Thank you. I love those comments. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
I'm writing them down.
I'm going to insert my question here while you're writing down. I really liked your presentation, Crystal. I learned a lot. I can sympathize with Tessa in the sense that I have never had a major grief or a loss in my family or anyone really close, so I can't fully sympathize. But I was kind of wondering, since this is such a passion project, and I kind of know how passion project businesses can kind of go, have you noticed any part of you like that the passion part of it is kind of hindering the business side of things, like ensuring that certain business things get done? And have you noticed any of that, or what kind of the passion part takes over?
Yes. I have noticed that in a lot of ways. It took way too long. My husband would tell you that it took way too long to get to a point of actually having something. But again, I wanted it to be perfect, and there's no such thing as perfect and all of those things. I have had to learn how to break the tie between the love for my daughter and the success of sharing solace. Very early on, it was, if this fails, then, the world thinks I don't love my daughter. And that is not the case. And logically, I understand that. But emotionally, and I say that a lot through the grief process, logically, I understand X. Emotionally, this is what I want, kind of thing. So it has hindered in a lot of ways the speed of things. On the flip side of that coin, I have found that allowing things to be guided just kind of by the universe have worked in my benefit. There have been times with the design of the token, I have, pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed to get that done. And for whatever reason, it never came around the right way until I think the universe said, okay, this is what it needs to look like, and this is how it needs to be. And so I'm getting better at basically picking my battles with the universe, as weird as woo-hooey as that sounds. I control what I can control, and I continually move forward. But I don't beat myself up if things don't go as quickly as I'd like.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. I was hoping my question could help you, but it sounds like it helped me a lot in thinking about that. Because it sounds, you're really well versed in this subject. You're very informative, and it probably comes from you just waiting and listening until the right answer comes around. So I appreciate hearing that.
There's that fine line between letting things happen and making things happen. And I'm constantly doing one of these on that line. I think we all are.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Looks like Jay's got a question.
Yeah, this kind of, thank you for the presentation. I was also moved, and I get it too. Like, I've lost lots of people, and I get that, the process, and I totally see value, and on that part. My question is more, it kind of ties to where the conversation was going around the business side of things. Like, did you, it sounds like you've gone through a whole journey on that with patenting and all of that, and with building the business and things. Did you receive any kind of business support? What kind of expertise or support did you get, if any, on that part of the process?
Lots of support. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never sold a physical product. I just ask a lot of questions. Okay, well, if I wanted to design jewelry, then I must need to talk to somebody that makes jewelry. So I'd talk to so-and-so, and they'd say, well, I can't help you, but call this person. So I'd call that person, and they'd say, oh, I can't help you, but maybe this person can. A lot of trade shows, a lot of just taking meetings with anyone that would talk to me and see what kind of information I could get from them. Kauffman Foundation has been awesome, both their through all of their programs. 1 Million Cups has been more than amazing, but I'm preaching to the choir here as far as that. But a lot of just, hey, I think I need to explore patenting. I know nothing about that. Maybe if I buy a patent lawyer lunch, they'll at least tell me tell me if that's something I should do. So my entire budget, probably 90% of my budget in the first 3 years, was buying people coffee and food.
Awesome. I guess, so I ask because I'm a librarian at Seattle Public Library, and we offer workshops and classes like that. But I also, I've helped lots and lots of entrepreneurs, and what you're describing of that process of going out and, taking the meeting with whoever will talk to you, like I see that over and over again, and especially the ones who are successful, you mm-hmm. go out and like learn from whoever will teach you.
Yes.
And, and honestly, like in my role, like that's how I learn too. Like I learned from taking the meeting as well from folks like you, and from coming to things like this that makes me, better able to support others too.
And getting involved with the entrepreneur community, I found, has been phenomenal, because we're all doing the same thing, just in very different ways.
Yeah.
We all need to be self-sustainable. We all need legal advice. So to just have someone to say, do I need help? I think I need help. Who needs to help me? I've found that just not being afraid to ask questions and to say, I don't know. I'm really good at that. I don't know.
Well, offer of help right here to you and anybody. If you have that moment of like, how do I find this? Myself and I have 10 colleagues who are also here to help you. And our services are all free. So like, you reach out to us anytime and we're happy to help you with that navigation process. I also looked you up, or I thought I had seen your brand at the Celebrating Dreams from the Business Impact Northwest. It's a showcase of women-owned businesses that is done every year by Business Impact Northwest. And since I thought I'd seen your brand there, I went and looked you up, but I didn't see you there. So I thought I'd just bring that up too as well, that they do this day of kind of celebrating women-owned businesses in Seattle, or actually the region, and it really is an awesome event I've participated in for the last couple of years.
Oh, look that up. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat.
Thanks, Jake. And you can also put your contact information in the chat for people that want, because
I will. Yeah, definitely.
All right, Ben's going to finish up with our last question here before we move on to breakout rooms.
No, I'm sorry. I was just raising my hand as to preach and word, because the whole idea of how she's approaching is exactly what I did. And I think I applaud her. There is no fear when you need help. You got to just ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. So mine was more about preaching.
Yeah, nice. I can
Hallelujah.
that.
Amen.
Calling people, saying, hey, can we have lunch? Well, wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. We're going to continue on our journey today of the 1 Million Cups slide deck and other slide decks.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are your sales like, Crystal?
Sales have doubled or almost tripled every year, but when you start at zero, so they're not where I'd like them to be. But we definitely are moving in the right direction. And I believe that having...
So you started from the bottom?
Yes, we started from absolutely zero 2 years ago. So we are not quite self-sustaining, but we're working towards that, and we're getting pretty close. I think we'll make it this year. But I believe that offering other ways of support has really catapulted us into, with the book and the journal and things like that, have really, really helped.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anastasia. All right, so we're going to finish up here with our last couple slides and move on to our final breakout rooms. And if you do have any questions for Crystal, that's perfectly fine, because we can send them to her directly after this, because I think you might think of things or get in your head. That's perfectly acceptable. All right. So we always ask our presenters one question. It's the questions. What can the 1 Million Cups community do for you, Crystal?
Ooh. If you've been intrigued by what you've heard today, I would love to have you read the first couple chapters of my book, which I will put a link in the chat for that. It's just sharingsolace.com/confessions preview. I'd love to know what you think. So.
Wonderful. I think we will, and I like that you have 2 subtitles. It's very bold.
Yes.
But it's actually
this one.
really good. It helps you know exactly what you're going to get into.
Yes. There's definitely, I call them artfully crafted 4-letter words. So if that is not your jam, this might not be the thing for you. But I also don't know how to spell 4-letter words, so nothing is spelled properly. So if that makes it a little easier to digest.
Easy. All righty. We have the last question for one is, what can the 1 Million Cups, what can you do for the 1 Million Cups community? And that is, you can bring a friend next week. Like we talked about with just inclusion, is if you have someone in your mind that might be thinking about what is it like to start a company, someone that's way before all those steps we asked of bringing people out to lunch, like, how would you even do that? I don't have any exposure to that. This is a great place to get exposure to that. So keep that in mind with that friend that you might think could learn a lot from this. And we could learn a lot from them. If you want to present, well, guess what? You certainly can. The barrier to entry for this is very low. You have to be willing to ask for help, which we just talked about how to do that. You be trying something new or making a pivot on an existing company, and you want to learn by doing. And if you'd like to present, it doesn't mean you have to present, just apply to get the ball rolling and talk to us, is 1millioncups.com/Seattle. And there's a bit of coaching involved, and it's a really good time to hone your idea and your message, even if you're not ready to go to market. I found that's a really good way, like for me personally, to, okay, what am I doing? So keep that in mind. And if you'd like to get involved as an organizer, we always need people to help us organize this great event every week, and that you can email us at seattle@1millioncups.com. So without further ado, we're going to jump into some breakout rooms. The point of the breakout rooms are just like to mingle with people from the Seattle community, connect 1-on-2 or 2-on-3, and if you have video, turn that on so people know who's talking to you. You can continue the conversation, talk about what you've got working on, ask people about what they thought of the presentation, and meet someone new, chat about whatever you want. And of course, you have a free pass to go when you are full of conversation. You need to continue on with your day. Any questions there? All right, we're going to jump into those here in a second, but big round of applause for Crystal for presenting today. Wonderful presentation. Thank you, Crystal. And now I'm going to click some buttons, hopefully, and do this perfectly. So please stick around if you can, and we're going to jump on in right now. Thank you, everybody. Have a great Wednesday, unless I see you in a second, then I'll see you in a second.